Well, Oreo finally graced us. Oreo, we thought, was going to be having her kids for several weeks now, and she just kept dragging it out and dragging it out, which I started telling my wife. I said, you know what, if I had to bet, I bet she's got at least triplets, because she just seemed so big for so long. And sure enough, 1, 2, 3. Now, the point of this video really was not to brag about the triplets. It was just to talk about what we're doing with this one here. I just walked out here this morning to do goat chores, and here's Oreo standing in the alleyway with fresh babies, and this one's still wet. So she just had them in the last probably 30 minutes. She's got the other two mostly cleaned up. They're up walking around, dried off. I've seen them both trying to nurse, so they're good. This one was laid off away from Mama in the alleyway, and honestly, when I first saw her, I thought she was dead already. I just figured she was a stillborn, but then I saw her kind of move her head and wiggle around, so I snatched her up. Now this morning it's about, I don't know, less than 40 degrees. There was frost this morning, which now as soon as the sun comes up, it starts warming up, but I'm going to still say it's, maybe mid to upper 30s. So she's cold. There was no heat lamp or anything out there in the alleyway. All of the other pintos all had heat lamps on, but where Oreo gave birth to these, there was no direct heat lamps. So as of right now, this one, she's real lethargic. She won't stand up at all. Like I said, I thought she was already dead, but we picked her up, we've dried her off, we've got her under the heat lamp as much as we can, and actually, like I said, we're getting her dried off, and I'm starting to notice that she's at least actually shivering. When I first picked her up, you can watch her little body here. You can kind of see she's shaking a little bit. So she is at least now shivering, which to me is a good sign, because when I first picked her up, she wasn't. She was total ragdoll, wouldn't move, really not even responsive. So the fact that she's shivering now at least is telling me that her body is responding to the warmth and is trying to warm itself up versus just trying to, lay there and die, I guess. We've got a little bit of goat milk. Obviously the best thing for her is colostrum from Mom, but if we can, I haven't milked out Oreo. I've been sitting here just with this one nonstop. So I didn't milk Oreo. My wife ran in here and just got a little bit of milk out of one of the other does that's lactating, and we're just giving her this with the syringe. We don't want to encourage bottle baby, obviously, but we do want to give her some energy. At this point, she's so weak and lethargic that she will not eat, and of course, if she doesn't eat off her mom, then she's going to continue to get weaker and weaker and weaker, and ultimately starve to death if she didn't freeze to death first. So we're going to be babysitting this one this morning. I'm going to try to get a little bit more of this goat milk in her. She does appear to be swallowing it because it's not leaking back out of her mouth, but I have to pry her mouth open and then put a little on her tongue. But if we can hopefully get some energy in her, get some warmth in her, get her on her feet, then I think she'll be fine. We don't know at this point what'll happen, but I wanted to make this video about it, just this is the efforts, and not to go down a dark alley, but I've told you guys before, and I'll say it again, I grew up around livestock. I've dealt with the joys and the losses of livestock. Had I walked out here this morning and just found her already deceased, that's a shame. That would have been heartbreaking, but we would have gotten her buried and moved on. But she's showing signs of hope, so I'm not going to turn my back on her and walk away because she looks like she's almost dead. We're going to at least try. We're going to give her a shot. I've got her up here in this blanket on a bed of straw to keep her warm, and you can see I've got her up on top of some buckets to get her right up under this heat lamp. We hang the heat lamps intentionally higher to where if you're down at ground level, you can feel a little bit of the warmth, but not a lot. We don't want them down so low that they're roasting the babies. But in this particular case, I'm basically got her on a warmer bed like you'd see for newborn human babies. In the hospital, they throw them underneath the red lamp, which is usually for whatever the disease is that turns yellow. Can't think of the name now, but jaundice. So anyway, we've got her up here. My hand is nice and warm. It is not hot. It's just cozy warm. We've got her snuggled in here. So we're just trying to keep her warm, and you can see there she kind of did a little twitch, and she's got her eyes open. She's looking around. She's breathing normal. She's not heaving. So we're just going to try to keep her up here close to the lamp and basically just warm her up a little bit and see if we can get her moving around and get her on her feet. The other ones are doing good. They're being a little whiny. I'm not real happy with Oreo's response to them. The other does, appeared very, very good mothers. As soon as the babies were born, they were licking them like crazy to get them cleaned up. Oreo seems like she's neglecting them a little bit. I mean, she's looking at them. And obviously she worked them enough to get them dried up and cleaned off, so I can't really complain. But I just feel like for whatever reason, she saw this one and just abandoned it. Maybe she thought it was already dead because it was cold or something. I'm not sure. There, she's looking at it. Oreo, you see this baby? Oreo? So anyway, we're going to try to get this one. This is a little girl. That one's a little girl. And this is a little buckling. So this is good. This is some positive sign here. She's warming up and she's trying to wiggle. So we're just going to try to keep her, get her warmed up here and see if we can't get her on her feet. I think if we can get her on her feet, she'll do just fine. But we'll be sure to let you know for sure one way or another. At this point, we're hanging on to some hope. So here's our baby in question. She's been under the heat lamp now for, I don't know, 45 minutes maybe. I lose track of time sitting down here, but I've been going through doing the other chores, milking out the other does, doing whatever, and then just checking back on her. We did go ahead and get some colostrum. I milked out a little bit of colostrum out of her mom, got that in the syringe instead of the goat milk. And I've been giving her a little droplet of that on her tongue every now and then. And I don't know if that's what's making the difference or if it's the heat, but I can't imagine that the colostrum could hurt anything. So I had her, she was in the bucket and she was sitting up kind of high. Remember, I had her way up top on the bucket. And all of a sudden she like kicked and like thrashed out all of her legs. And I thought for a second, I thought she might be at risk of falling out of the bucket. So I pulled some straw out of the bucket, lowered it down so she could roll around in there and not fall out. And the really good thing is that her mother now is paying attention to her. So her mama started to actually lick her and, respond to her in the bucket, which is huge for a baby like this that's laying there thinking it might just die. To have its mother start to interact with it and pay attention to it, that's really great. So when it made that thrash, I pulled her out of the bucket, set her down on the floor, thinking maybe she's going to roll around and try to stand up, but then she went limp again. So I picked her up, put her back up in the bucket for a while, got her warmed up again, and then I picked her up in the bucket after a while and stood her up on all fours. And I had her standing on her feet. I still had my hand under her belly, but she was trying to stand up, which is really good. So I pulled her back out of the bucket. We got her down here on the floor. She was trying to stand for a while, but you can tell she's just still really weak. She just wants to lay and sleep. So you see Mama laid down. Mama needs her rest. So I'm going to pick the baby back up, get her back up here in the bucket for right now, keep her warming up, go milk another doe, keep giving this colostrum. We're just going to keep doing this. It looks like it's working. Like I said, I don't know if it's the colostrum or the heat or the combination of both, but it looks like it's working. So right now we're clinging to hope. We might have pulled this one back. Just want to give you that little update. We got her up on her feet now. This is really good. She's not leaning against Mom like she was before. I had to help her get her feet under her. It just seemed like she couldn't quite figure it out. But she's figured it out pretty quick. You see Mom's still working on her, still paying attention to her. That again, that's a really big positive. Because when we found her this morning, the mom had already neglected her. So it's good for the baby's recovery that the mom not neglect her, but two, it's a really good sign because sometimes when the mom neglects them like that right away, she won't take them back. So it's really good to see Mom accepting her, cleaning her up. Really, really good to see her on her feet. She got a little bit more of this colostrum. The mom laid down, which I can't blame her. She's tired. But I went ahead and stripped out a little bit more colostrum. I'm going to keep giving it to the baby, getting her that extra bit of energy. I don't want her to get spoiled on having this syringe stuck in her mouth. So just trying to get her on her feet, and then hopefully she'll figure out how to nurse once she's, strong enough to stay on her feet and move around and start exploring things. I think she'll figure it out. So anyway, it's looking good still, looking better. This is huge. She's eating. Got her on her feet. got her on the teat, and she's eating, and she is eating like a champ. She's doing so good. This is so good. If we can keep her eating and keep her on her feet, I think she'll make it. Oh, that tail. Oh, that happy tail from time to time. Well, we may never be able to be out of the weeds, but just wanted to give a little update about our little baby here. This is, I think they're 4 days old now. Yeah, 4 sounds good. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, 4 days old. 3.5, whatever. Not very old. But that's our baby here, the one that was basically on the deathbed. And she is, looks like she's made a full recovery. She's just as big and strong or more than the others. She's about as big or bigger than her sister here. And then, of course, the little buckling. He's just got a little bit on both of them, just being a boy. But anyway, this wasn't really planned. I didn't leave the gate open. I guess my daughter did. But Oreo got out with the baby, so I figured, you know what the heck. Let's just let him be out and play for a little while. But figured I'd give you that little update. That looks like we named her Susie for whatever reason. We just called her Susie and it stuck. So our little survivor is Susie. And she seems pretty happy to be eating off of Mama.